David, I want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. I've been wanting to have you for a while because of the Bitcoin challenge. The fact that if I'm able to put an argument forth, you'll give me 3 Bitcoins. And I think in this day and age, people want Bitcoins. And, it would have been more valuable about 4 or 5 months, but still, it would pay for now half my daughter's education because she says she wants to go to Harvard, and it's actually a little scaring me now. So I just want to, before we move on and talk about Bitcoin, Dave, your nickname is, it's David Weiss, Flat
Earth Dave.
Flat Earth Dave.
Flat Earth Dave. Crazy, right?
It is. But before we start talking about that name, why Bitcoin? Why not real cash?
Well,
what is Bitcoin?
Well, cash is, cash is just a fiat currency and it's going to zero. The question is when. My opinion is it's already gone to zero. People just don't know it yet. And Bitcoin is real money. And I like Bitcoin, but there's other cryptocurrencies I like way better than Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is kind of, when you talk crypto, someone new, Bitcoin is crypto. And everything's umbrella under Bitcoin. Do I think Bitcoin's going to go up to, 100,000 or a lot more? I actually do. But I also think it's going to go down to almost nothing after that at some point. That could be in a year, could be in 10 years, could be in 20 years. I don't know. But the reason I say Bitcoin is because if I wanted to send you 3 Bitcoins, let's call it $100,000 right now, I can do it in a minute. I don't have any middleman. I don't have the bank. I don't have any fees. I mean, there's a tiny fee, but cryptocurrency takes out the middleman. What are banks, right? Banks are just middlemen that cause problems, steal your money, and that's it. There's also, there's other cryptos out there where it's even better than Bitcoin. Limited supply, totally private. Bitcoin's not private, but that's all right. And you can send it anywhere in the world for a penny. Bitcoin costs you a few dollars.
Yes. Well, now I want to ask you, how long have you had the Bitcoin challenge before we get into talking about what it is? How long have you had it for?
The Bitcoin challenge is, I don't know, going on. It's over a year, maybe 2 years. That should kind of give it away. You have to categorize them. You have a whole bunch of people that are completely new to the space and they go, oh, I got it. And they come in with the Flat Earth 101, proofs. And then you're like, just look right here. And then they're like, oh, then you have the, what we call the anti-flat earthers, the trolls, if you will, that make wild claims that are completely pseudoscience. And I usually can show them instantly that it doesn't work. But when they keep insisting, we have a second approval stage. It takes it above me. I send you over to a Discord server where there's a bunch of nice guys, where they'll explain it to you clearer than I will. Or I send you over to another live show called Flat Earth Debates with Nathan Oakley, where he will ridicule you until you understand that you're wrong. The thing is, I am going to be keep my word. If you can give me one proof of the globe, just one, you win the 3 Bitcoins.
Well, let's talk about the challenge. What is it? Define it, because I've got a number of questions, because I've asked a number of people that I know over the last few weeks saying, I'm going to take this Bitcoin challenge, and they've given me questions to ask you. But let's go and have you define what it is before we begin with this.
So just backing the story up a little bit, I was introduced into this topic that the earth is flat, dumbest thing ever, right? Oh my God. And when people suggested it to me, I had a podcast at the time looking into some other conspiracies, if you will. We're a conspiracy analyst show. And when they said, hey, have you looked into flat earth? I'm like, delete. And then they kept posting and more people started sending stuff. I'm like, ban for life, ban for life, ban for life. And it's like, I'm not going to watch a 1-minute video. It's the dumbest topic ever. And the reason it's the dumbest topic ever is because this is what we're programmed to believe flat earth is, that we're a disk floating in space with a bunch of globe planets. We're the only flat planet out there, or a whole bunch of disk planets, right? Well, that's two false models. One, flat Earth is not a disk in space. And two, no flat earther believes that there's actual physical planets in space. And that's something that we can scientifically prove is not real. Okay, what do you mean planets aren't real? You know, Disney and NASA showed me plenty of pictures, but when you look at the pictures and you listen to the words of NASA, they don't have any photos of Earth. They don't have any. What about the blue marble that was on my telephone? You know, and all made in Photoshop, paintings, imageries. NASA doesn't use the word photo for anything that has to do with images from space. So that's a whole nother avenue to go down. But so I was sick and tired of hearing it. And I finally, a researcher that I'm very fond of and respect their work said, Dave, I think the Earth might be flat. And I'm like, not you too, Sophia. And she's like, oh, yeah, watch these. And she sent me 2 videos. And I was like, okay, you know, hey, where do you get your information from? YouTube, a video? And I'm like, no, it showed me some things. And I went and tested it myself. And I went in with a closed mind to disprove flat Earth, prove the globe, be done with these knuckleheads. And for 2 weeks, I'm trying. I'm like, wait a minute, boats going over the horizon. I'm like, oh, that actually doesn't work. And I could show you that if you want. Sticks and Shadows with Aristophanes 2,000 years ago. Carl Sagan showed me on Cosmos how it has to be a curved Earth. It's the only way. Well, that's a lie. It's a lie. They're gatekeeping your mind. Remember I always relate it back to The Matrix, the first movie, The Matrix with Keanu Reeves. At the beginning, he's plugged into the Matrix. He's lost. Something's wrong with the world. He can't see the world. And at the end, look at Neo at the end when he's unplugged. It doesn't matter the shape of the condition of the world. He's taken his power back. And that's what this is all about. Why am I talking about flat Earth when the economy is crashing? All of this nonsense is going on in the world. The threat of nuclear war. That's another rabbit hole to go down, right? Fear, false evidence appearing real, is how they control us. They steer our minds with the news, which is this anachronism. Anachronism, is that the word? North, east, west, south. Okay, north, east, west, south. News. That's how they steer your mind. And when you're plugged into the heliocentric matrix, your mind is in a prison and you can't fathom what's out there. You know, if you Google flat Earth, you know, you'll get CNN articles showing this. This is not flat Earth. Nobody believes that, right? So let me just throw a couple things out there and then I'll throw it back to you. Do you know that and when I was asked these questions, I got them all wrong. So if you get them all wrong, you're doing as good as I did at the beginning. How fast do you think the Earth is spinning? Right? The Earth is spinning at the.
Okay, you want me to take it? I'm a nerd.
Yeah,
I'm a serious nerd. I'm a guy who reads the.
How fast are we spinning at the equator?
1,000, approximately 1,000.
Beautiful. How fast are we spinning in Alaska?
Oh, that's probably would be faster, wouldn't it?
No, slower. Right?
Slower.
Because at the equator, you're spinning this entire circumference once a day, which is about 24,000 miles. Okay. So 1,000 miles an hour. But in Alaska,
how much in Alaska?
In Alaska, you're making a much smaller circle, right? You're going around once a day, but your circle, imagine it as a piece of string. And I pull that string out. That Alaska string is only this long. The equator string is this long. So Alaska is going about 300 miles an hour. Never thought about that, did you?
Sorry, how much? 3,000 or
no, 300. If you were 300 miles per hour.
But,
right?
But
hold on, I'll give it to you easier. If you were the North Pole is supposedly the axis. If you were 1 mile from the North Pole, right? And you walked equidistant all the way around the North Pole, you spun all the way around 6.28 miles later, 24 hours, you've gone 6.28 miles. Well, in 24 hours, what is that? A third of a mile an hour? Okay. Yep. You're going less than a mile an hour. And then as you go out farther and farther on the ball, your linear speed is increasing. Okay. You were never taught to even think about that concept. Okay. Think about this, an airplane sitting on a runway in Northern Alaska. It's moving maybe 300 miles an hour linearly before it takes off. It takes off and it flies to Ecuador and it lands on a runway that's oriented north-south. That runway is moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour. How does that airplane make up that 700 miles an hour sideways movement to land on that runway. I'll give you a hint. Airplanes fly over the Earth plane, not the Earth ball. Okay. So getting back, one more. We're orbiting the sun in an elliptical path, speeding up and slowing down. Yeah, the average speed is
66,000 miles. So it's
66,600 miles per hour.
Miles. Now, one of the things I find really fascinating, because I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
But that's pretty interesting, because there was two numbers that came to mind. One was how fast we're going around the sun, which is 66,600 miles, and the tilt of the Earth is 23.4. So if you subtract that from a 90 degree, the number is
66.6 degrees. And the curvature formula, it has 666 in it. And at 10 miles, there's 66.6 feet. At 100 miles, there's 6,660 feet of curvature. There's a lot of that. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. We don't have to go down that, because that doesn't prove the flat Earth or the globe. All right.
I know. I'm just joking with you.
So just for those of you that are going, yeah, but you're already going that speed, you don't notice it. Well, if you're in a car going 100 miles an hour on a perfectly straight road, yeah, you don't notice it. You can drink your water, you can eat food, whatever. You can even pour water on a dinner plate to the edge and hold it, no problem. But as soon as that car starts taking the turn, that water is going to go right off the plate, right? So the orbit of the spin of the Earth is a curve, because if you were on the Earth and you disconnected, boom, you're spinning and it stopped, you would just tangent right off into space. But if I'm here and it's pulling me around, that turn is acceleration. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson, the failed actor, says that the water bulges at the equator due to the centrifugal force.
How much?
14 miles high.
Wait a sec. The highest I've ever been on a plane is 43,000.
Yeah, like 5 miles. So well, you've gone higher. 40. Yeah. So the average plane flies 5 to 7 miles, right?
So that's got to be 50,000 feet. What is that?
Well, for 14,000 feet. No, 14,000 feet is
the 14 miles.
14 miles. 14 miles. I'm sorry.
That's 70,000 feet.
It's
and
ridiculous.
I've never been higher than 43,000 feet.
At what point, when I'm flying from America to Santiago, do I have to triple my altitude just to skim over a hump of water? And the answer is never. Okay.
Well, I just want to share something with you. The reason why I'm interested in having you, because in the last 2 years, there's been a break in the matrix. There's been a glitch. You brought up the Matrix movie, where the cat sort of glitches. So I asked myself a serious question. I'm sure many of the people who are listening to us right now have asked the same question. Why do I believe what I believe? It's a question that actually is paradigm shifting when you start asking it. And I came up with 5 answers. I just want to share before we go forward. The first one is because I was told. My parents, the system I'm Canadian, it was a school system, everything told me to be a good Canadian, not question, to be a good boy and get a job and pay my taxes and not question anything. Number 2, I was just too busy. I wanted to make a living for myself. I wanted to go and get married. I wanted to have a full life. Number 3, I was just too lazy. I wasn't going to ask any questions. And number 4, I was too frightened. If I asked those questions, to be ridiculed, to be outcast, because it's really tough to actually accept something going against the grain. However, getting back to this station, anybody who's ever been successful, it's the lunatics who people think are lunatics are the ones who change the world by questioning. And the problem is too many people like following. However, right now, I've been very impressed. There's a huge percentage of the population who are waking up, and David, whether the world is flat or round, or it happens to be 250,000 miles wide, the important part is to re-kick our higher functions of our brain and question, why do I believe? Whether someone accepts this or doesn't, it doesn't matter. Go and investigate And don't listen to CNN when you had Chris Como saying only we should read WikiLeaks.
Yeah. So you brought up a lot of good stuff. Belief is the enemy of knowing, and ego is the protector of belief. Where do I live, Peter? Where do I live?
Connecticut.
Do you know that, or do you believe it?
Because you told me.
Do you know it, or do you believe it?
I've never been to your home, so
do you know it, or do you believe it? You believe it.
I believe it
because you're trusting me. Because I said it.
Yeah.
We're looking at each other. Yeah, hey, why would he lie to me about that? So you've set a belief. I could be lying, but if you wanted to know it, you'd have to go online, maybe get on Facebook, and you find some friends. You're like, oh, they live there, and then you find my high school yearbook, and you're like, all right, now I know it. I live in Connecticut. You're right. But if we had to verify everything that we hear every day, we'd never have any time to do anything. Okay. And
correct.
Knowing takes time and effort. They tell us in school that we only use 10% of our brains. That's the goal of the indoctrination system that we call school. They want you only to learn accounting and managerial accounting and geometry and algebra and be good little worker slaves. They want you to learn marketing and all of this stuff that works in their little corporations and whatnot. They don't want you using the 90% of your brain that connects you to nature and to spirit, and to use your pineal gland. And, there's a whole lot of stuff with our pineal glands and the length of our lives and how it's all being calcified. It's insane what's going on right now. So with all of the insanity going on, why am I talking about flat Earth? Because this is the foundation of all your beliefs. This is where you live. If you live in this world, you live in fear. Every single cell in your body lives in fear. An asteroid could take us out. An asteroid could knock us out. The supernova could happen. We're running out of resources. We're running out of food. Some crazy lunatic is going to blow up the world with nuclear bombs. All of that is fake, right? There's infinite water. What do I mean infinite water? There's infinite water. Have you ever heard about the Great Man-Made River? The Great Man-Made River, it's called. Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi, we were all taught was a tyrant, a terrorist, a horrible man. He was the best leader of all time. I have a video on my channel, which is DITRH right here. Called the Great Man-Made River. Watch it. You will die. This guy found an ocean of water below the desert. He did a 40-year aquifer project, putting giant pipes buried in the desert, feeding all of Africa, giving any family that wanted to farm, cattle, seeds, access to water, everything. And he was going to feed all of Africa. And when he was almost done, the United Nations went in there and blew it up with depleted uranium. It's the biggest crime in humanity, and you never heard about it. Right. And they're trying to wipe it off the internet, but look it up. Great Man-Made River on my YouTube channel, DITRH, right there.
I'm going to link to it.
Yeah. So that's a little sidetrack. But let me finish about this analogy. We're also chasing the sun at, you probably know,
500,000.
Yes. And the entire system's moving sideways at 2-point-something million miles per hour. We're moving in 4 different curved directions.
Billion a year, right?
Yeah. So we're traveling billions of miles every year. Okay, right? The sun is here right now, and in a year from now, it'll be 4.4 billion miles from there, and never to return to that spot. But you can go out tonight, look at the stars in the sky, make a little chart. Next year, same night, same time, go out, and every single star would be in the exact same position in this heliocentric, nonsensical beehive. Let's just talk about these speeds for a second. This is the hypersonic sled track. There's no sound here, but if you pull it up on YouTube, and listen to it, it's shocking. This thing is going to go by a Mach 8.4. Here it goes again. Okay, Mach 8.4. Ready? Right? Can't even see it. Right? Mach 8.4. You have to believe that we are traveling around the sun 10 times faster than that, and we're chasing the sun at 100 times faster than that. Your brain cannot process that information. But when we go out in nature, this is what we see. Right? This is what we see in nature.
Yes.
What does this tell you? Right? This tells you.
Is that in BC?
These are pictures from all over the place. But what I'm showing you here is this is perfectly still water. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat, scientifically, measurably, testably, provably flat. Water needs a container. To prove it, if you had a puddle, what holds the puddle in? Well, the land that's higher than the puddle. Lower that land a little bit, and the water is going to flow away. A pond is a bigger puddle. A lake is a bigger pond. The edge of a lake.
I have a question to ask.
Go ahead.
So you're saying that the Earth that we live in is a puddle? So what's holding the puddle?
I'm going to show you. Okay. I'm going to show you. Good question. Great questions. And by the way, we can do this for 5 hours and you will not run out of questions. All right. But we're covering the basics right here. So they tell us that Antarctica, this little guy right down here, is the highest land on Earth. Google photos of Antarctica from space. There are none. They're just cartoons. Interesting. Why is Antarctica the highest continent on Earth? Well, it's at the bottom, maybe. Maybe that's why. But in reality, that's not where the Antarctica is. Antarctica is the shoreline that surrounds the Earth puddle. Okay, here's our puddle, our pond, our lake. All the islands and continents are surrounded by water, but the water is surrounded by the highest land on Earth. And that land holds it in, gives it its lateral pressure. We live in the Antarctic basin. Okay. And this is scientifically provable. So here's the deal. In 1940s and 50s, we started exploring Antarctica. Admiral Byrd flew out beyond the South Pole, he said, and he found a continent bigger than the United States, filled with resources, no humans, no plants, no animals, just uranium and coal and everything that we want. All right. And at a time when we're at war with countries fighting over resources, they find all of this and immediately they do the Antarctic Treaty. Okay, you know about the Antarctic Treaty? 1959. 1959. I think 1950. I think it's 1959. But the Antarctic Treaty, they basically said nobody can go to Antarctica, and all of the countries in the world signed on this treaty that can't even be questioned until the year 2041. When have you seen all of the countries in the world that are all at war with each other? Nobody can agree on anything, but hey, we found a place filled with resources that we don't have to displace any human population. We don't have to displace any animals. And nope, don't go there. Go deforest the Amazon. That's fine. But don't go to this desolate place that nobody lives.
Wait a sec, David. I know somebody
that went
down to Argentina.
Yeah.
And they went to Antarctica and they spent a fortune, but they were told, because according to you, they were told, but it wasn't the reality, the South Pole. So tell me about why that's not the case.
Yeah. So going back to this. So you go from Santiago, Chile, right here. This is a small map. And then you see this little thing that sticks out here. It's bigger than some countries. Okay. And they take you to this little island here, which is gigantic. It's like coming out of the ocean and landing in Long Island. Okay. Long Island. Yep. And then thinking that you know what's in California. Okay. You don't know what's in California. You're just on the south shore of Long Island. You don't even know that there's a north shore of Long Island. You don't know anything. Right. I take you to the center of Long Island and say, hey, we're at the North Pole. Right. And then I kick you out and you have to go home. You spend $20,000, $50,000 to go. Here's another thing. There's all these companies that offer trips to Antarctica, right? Where you get to go on this boat ride. It's a whole journey. And then you're barely allowed off the boat. No independent exploration in the outer space. Okay. And then they kick you out and they send you home, right? There's about 100 companies that do this. But if you research those companies, they're all run by the same guy. What does that tell you? They're all run by one company. They're shell companies because they want to control who goes to Antarctica. This pink line here is we're on a business channel right now. So the part that I admire is one guy owns that company and he's getting people to spend 50 grand just to go on what you are pointing out is a little peninsula. And I don't even know if it's actually, when you're sharing me, because I'm not taking the boat, maybe it's not even in Antarctica, according to you, because who really knows where they're taking them, right? Yeah, I think it's literally connected to Antarctica. I mean, there are people that work on the bases there, but all of the bases are right here, right along the shoreline. They're all right there. They're not out here. You're not allowed to go out there. And in a moment, I'll show you why. But if you try to cross below, but beyond the 60 degrees south, you are stopped by military, right? There's a whole bunch of islands. There's 7 or 8 of them that go all the way around the Falkland Islands. Remember the Falkland Islands War? Why are they fighting off of that island? It's because there's all military, UN-run, Crown-run military bases there. These fishermen decided to cross that 60-degree parallel. And I'll just jump forward a little bit. But they're going, and all of a sudden, on this warship showed up right here. and they radioed them, sent a drone after them, and said, "You are in restricted waters. Turn around immediately and leave." And they sent them on their way. I mean, they literally sent a drone after them, and nobody is allowed to. They're probably 1,000 miles from Antarctica, okay, but they're not allowed anywhere near there, because if we had the independent travel to Antarctica, we would find out that we don't live on a spinning globe. And when you find out that you don't live on a spinning globe, you unplug from the heliocentric matrix and you stop giving them your power. This world is much more than they tell us it is, right? And they don't want us to know. They don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know that we're not randomly flying through space, lost in a godless or distant God universe. They don't want us to know that we're at the center of creation. They don't want us to know that there's infinite water, infinite food, plenty of land. Every American family could have a half an acre in Texas, and there'd still be room in Texas. Every family in the world could live in Australia, and half of Australia would be empty. Okay, right? They don't want us to know that there's no food shortage, there's no water shortage, there's no fuel shortage. Dinosaur juice. We're not using dinosaur juice, okay? The oil is abiotic in our world, right? They tell us that, it's dinosaurs that make oil. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Dinosaurs are made up. What? Dinosaurs are made up, right? Whole nother rabbit hole. That's something we can get into another time.
So I want to preface this for the listeners.
Go ahead.
Don't take Dave's word on it. Do your own research.
Don't believe anything I say. Don't believe anything I say.
Because the one thing that I enjoy the most, because Dave, I'm not taking what you say to heart. I'm going to investigate.
Sure.
I'm going to check for my own. Because let's face it. Remember, I shared with you the last reason why I believe what I believe. The last thing was fear of being ridiculed. But once you get, I'm an old fart now. I'm in my 50s. You might think I'm a kid, but I'm at the point where I really don't care what people think, because more importantly, the most attractive person is someone who has purpose in their step, and that's someone who would know where they are. Now, I want to ask a question. I've flown, and I've gone to Europe, and I've gone I've gone straight lines. And you tell me, you basically, if it's flat, I'm not going flat or south or whatever. I've been to Argentina. I've been to parts of the African continent. I've traveled. If this is a flat Earth and it's not round, how do people navigate when they fly?
Yeah. So the Earth is spinning at different speeds, right? It's spinning. Am I upside down? It doesn't matter. And you're landing on a spinning world, and none of that makes sense when you actually look at it. Airplanes flying straight level over an Earth plane, and we have all sorts of evidence that is absolutely the case. So let me ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you. You're going to use your brain here for a second.
Okay, I'm going to try.
Yeah, you got this. You got this. So here's the equator, right along the middle. The top half is the northern hemisphere. Bottom half is the southern hemisphere. Let's go a little smaller here. All right. So we got our northern hemisphere and our southern hemisphere. If you're a pilot and you're going from any location in the north to any other location in the south, would you ever need to fly below the equator?
No.
Absolutely right. And no plane ever does. Very good. Now, if you were a pilot in the south and going from any southern location to any other southern location, would you ever need to go above the equator?
No. On a round world, no. It'd be because airlines, especially right now, Dave, when gasoline and fuel is so expensive, why would anybody go above the equator? You're going to be wasting fuel, and that's expensive.
So we're going to look at a couple flights here. So this one from, what does it say? Give me a second. So this flight going from, Johannesburg to Australia, this is the fastest path, but this is the flight routes that they take. They go all the way up and all the way down. The equator's right here. Okay. Why would they go all the way up here when they could just go across here? And don't say it's because you're not allowed to go over this amount of water because they're going over more. Lay those on a flat Earth map. They're straight lines. Okay. Here's another one. Okay. Just watch this. So from Johannesburg to Chile, this is the quickest route according to the globe, right? But that's not how they go.
How far is it?
It's hard for me to see the numbers there, but the number of hours it takes
12 hours.
Yeah, but they go up here and it's 17 hours. Why do they go up above the equator? We just talked about that. It makes no sense. But if you look at it on a flat Earth map, it's a straight line. All right.
David, I want to share something with you. Maybe you can help me. I'm Canadian, and I have a friend who's an Indian Canadian. And Air Canada, because of the situation that's happening in Russia and the Ukraine, has canceled all flights from British Columbia, from Vancouver to India. Now that doesn't make sense to me because they would just, go over the Pacific. But they were actually saying in this notice that they just put out, it's because they fly over Russia. And I'm like thinking about that. And I said, well, that just doesn't make sense to me on around Earth. Why would someone leave Vancouver and fly over Russia? There was no reason for it. It would just make more sense saying what you're doing, that they would go, they would fly east.
Yeah.
And
so let me show you. Here's another one, right? So it crosses the equator. The blue line's the equator, goes all the way up to Senegal, and then all the way down. That's a straight line, but on a globe, it's this ridiculous path, right? I'm going to show you a couple more, and then I'm going to show you something that's going to really send it home. Again, this long ocean journey up, another ocean journey down. Why didn't they just cut across? Because this is a straight line, fairly straight at least, right? No plane flies directly over the north, which is another rabbit hole to get into. One more, here it goes. Why does it go all the way to Los Angeles? Why doesn't it just fly straight over to Lima, Peru? Straight line. Okay, straight line. But here's what happened. Here's the kicker. There's sometimes someone has a baby or is having a heart attack. You got to land a plane quick. All right. So this flight here from New York to Hawaii had an emergency right about here, and they landed in Seattle. It's like 1,000 miles out of the way. Why did they do that? Because look, Seattle's right on that flight path. Here's another one, right? This one, they went all the way up to Moscow, London. They're flying from London. They went all the way up to Moscow, again, 1,000, 1,500 miles out of the way. And here's the thing, from the time that it happened, the time they landed, it was like 20 minutes. How did they go that far in 20 minutes, right? But they landed here, fact, right? And here they go. And here's the things. I'm showing you a bunch of memes. Don't believe me. You can get this book.
I got a big question. I got a question. And
shoot.
Okay, well, like these flight paths, like who's actually putting these flight paths together? Like who's controlling it? Like why am I not seeing this? Like how is it some central organization that's controlling?
Yep. You know who can?
Can I take a guess?
Before you guess, they control flight paths. They control GPS, they control radar, and they own all of the helium companies in the world.
The CIA?
No, NASA. NASA.
What are you talking about? I grew up loving NASA. One of the greatest things for my entire life. I was born in 1969. And I'm proud, and I proudly always said, like, I was alive, not conscious, but I was alive when Neil Armstrong got off and said one step for man and one giant leap for mankind. And, and I had that picture of the globe in my life. And I don't know if you know Buckminster Fuller. He said that one image brought people together.
I don't know what just happened to your microphone, but you sound really good right now. Before you were in like a tin can. And so whatever you did, don't change anything.
I'm not going to do anything.
All right. So let me show you. What's that?
Where did you get this from? What was that show, that movie in '77 with O.J. Simpson? What was
Oh,
that movie?
it was where they faked the mission to Mars and then it blew up and
Yeah.
they had to kill everybody. It's called I'm spacing on the name of it, but it's a great one. It's a great movie. So anyone that takes 5 seconds and looks at the moon landings, your microphone just reverted back to whatever it was. So I'm not sure what's going on. These guys are hanging from wires. This is actual moon footage that I'm showing you here, right? They have wires on them connected to large balloons and they're walking around here on Earth. This guy dropped his hammer and he can't pick it up because he can't let the balloon give him enough slack. So he keeps trying. All you have to do is look at the moon landings for 5 minutes and you will know that it's fake. If NASA's faked the moon landings, what else are they faking? Here's the thing. We discovered more land beyond Antarctica, beyond the pole, which is a problem on the globe. And 6 months later, he's dead, died of a heart attack in his sleep. Interesting. And the Antarctic Treaty comes in place. And then the next year or the same year, they're like, hey, don't look over there. Resources like here on land, all sorts of stuff. Look up there. We're going to the moon, a place that you can't go, the place that you can't verify. Right. And the specs on the moon landing, the way they did it, absolute insanity. Right. But the reason for the whole moon landing hoax was to make everybody believe we live on a ball. Why do they care? Because all of us flat earthers, and there's millions of us now, we've unplugged from the matrix. We're no longer feeding their system, and they are petrified of us waking up. Okay. They are petrified of this information going viral. Right. And it's starting to go. We're hitting that hockey stick curve right now. And if this gets out to enough people, all governments will fold overnight. All universities will shut down. Okay. It's deeper than that. But, we are being controlled by a cabal of people that do not have our interest in heart. And I think you're aware of that. So
Can I point out something that I don't notice, except
Sure.
for when I see the flat Earth clock? Where are all the stars when they're on the moon? I'm looking for them now. I'm just looking. I didn't see one star. When I think about it, I've never seen a star when I've seen them out in space.
Well, if you listen to the astronauts, they can't get their story straight. Oh, we saw stars. Oh, you can see them on the backside, or we can see them we can see them all the time. We can see them here. We can't see them. We've never saw stars. They can't get it straight because they can't show us the stars, because we can actually look and figure out what time it was and everything. And if they show us that, then we can prove them wrong. So they never show us stars, right? Here are all the landings that remember, the same side of the moon faces the Earth at all times.
Right.
Okay.
It's locked.
It's tidally locked. Ridiculous. Jupiter must be tidally locked too, because the same side of Jupiter faces Earth also. Okay. But here you are. So where's the Earth? Is the Earth over on the horizon over there? Over there? Over there? No, it's over here above them. They would never look at the horizon, right? So here's a shot on the moon. How the hell is the moon over there when it should be directly above them? Right? You would never see the moon from any of those positions on the side. Okay? You would never see it.
Big
Right?
question I always had, Dave, when I see the moon lander lift up, I always was wondering who was videotaping it.
Yeah, it went up. Who filmed Neil Armstrong's first step on the moon or whatever? Here's Buzz Aldrin in Hawaii, and here's Buzz Aldrin on the moon. Same mountains behind him, right? Same mountains. You think they're faking something? It's absolute insanity that people believe this. But this is the thing: ego, right? I grew up with the moon landings. I was born in '63. Okay. This was a part of our life, right? All of this stuff. NASA fakes everything, right? And it's like, wait a minute, what about the International Space Station? You know that the International Space Station, which is arguably the greatest engineering feat ever, there's no photos or video of it being built. Okay. They forgot to. Dead.
Sorry, my question is this. I remember a few years ago when I was living in Toronto, the Science Center came out and said, on this day, you can see the space shuttle.
Space station.
sorry, the space station. And they said, you can go out right now and see it. So how is that possible?
So, so this is where you actually have to start using your God-given senses and understanding. So hold on a second. I have a good ISS. Let's see. All right. So the International Space Station is of almost the same size as an airplane, a little bit bigger. Okay. You ever see a 747 flying at cruising altitude? Yeah, of course you have.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little dot. Okay. You're standing next to underneath the 747. It's giant. It's as big as a football field. Okay. Cruising altitude, it's a tiny little dot. If you doubled the height, it's scientifically provable its angular size is beyond the Rayleigh criteria, which is the angular resolution limits of your eyes, and you could not see it. You have to believe that you can see the space station 25 times higher than that, 25 times farther than that. When I can prove to you, you can't see it at 10 miles up, but we can see the space station at 250 miles up. Absolute and total nonsense, right? But when you saw it, great question. When you saw it, it was brighter than any star in the sky. I've seen it. I've tracked it. And it comes by. Well, we had a NASA whistleblower telling us that they took old B-2 bombers. They re-engineered them. They made parts of the wings and fuselage transparent. They equipped them with LED lights at the same temperature, the brightness as the sun. And they fly these things on routes. There's 5 of them. 2 are in Alaska. One is in the Soviet Union somewhere, I think. And I forget where the other 2 are. And they fly these routes. And that's what you're seeing. Okay. That's what you're seeing up there. And if you watch the tracker, if you're lucky enough to be in an area where it's tracking, and then it disappears. Like, why is it disappearing? Where's it going? And then they also have it where it transits the moon. Like, oh, you know what? You can't see me right now. Here I am. So here,
part of it.
Yeah, no. Here's an airplane transiting the moon, and here's the ISS transiting the moon. Well, this thing is 25 times farther than this. Why is it the same size? Okay, right. But this is a parlor trick. They are flying something that this B-2 bomber in front of the moon, so people can say, "Yeah, I saw it." Right? Absolutely in total nonsense. Right? And the other thing is, if you think about this, SR-71, right? Mach 3.2. This thing is would you call it aerodynamic? Right? Pretty aerodynamic, right? Would you think it's aerodynamic?
Yeah, well, I've never seen. I'm just questioning everything right now. I've never seen that fly, and I've never seen the space shuttle fly.
Okay. So I've seen videos of both
a lot of movies.
Yeah.
A lot of videos, and I've seen.
So here, let me show you this. So this thing, the story, whether it's true or not, this is official story. It goes Mach 3.2, 2,193 miles per hour. It has no paint on it because it heats up to over 500 degrees due to the friction of this aerodynamic work of art. Okay, it goes any faster, it starts to rip apart. Right, it starts to rip apart. Right, this thing goes Mach 33. This hunk of junk, this thing goes Mach 33. How is that possible? This is a helium balloon, right? This is absolute nonsense, right?
Well, I'll tell you something that sticks in my mind. I was listening to a NASA astronaut, and he was talking about the Van Allen belts and saying one day we'll be able to get out of the Van Allen belt. And he said it was 1,000 miles. And at that point, I had cognitive dissonance because I remember being taught in school that the moon is 250,000 miles away from the Earth. And they're now saying that they destroyed all the tapes and everything from the moon landings, and we can't leave the Van Allen belts, and it's so hot. It's like 4,000 or 5,000 degrees supposedly on the surface of the moon. But how did we get there? And now they're saying we can't go above 1,000 miles from the Earth. We can't leave it. And that to me is just
it's crazy
cognitive dissonance for me. You know, and that's really what I wanted to speak to you about today, because I think what's important in success in general is to question every assumption and do it yourself and not take anybody's word for it. And I really appreciate that you're spending this time to educate me, because I'm listening, Dave, and hopefully the people listening to us are listening too, and they'll do their own investigation, and this will lead.
Great technology.
Yeah,
We're still able to talk 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So what I was saying, David, is what I find really fascinating. It goes back to what you were saying and why I like your challenge. Whether someone accepts flat Earth or not, they have to do their own investigations. And actually, we have 5 senses, and we have minds, and just not to accept whatever the narrative we're being told. Because if someone wants to have survival or success in life, I actually think the question is infinitely more important than the answer, because you're presuming there's an answer. And to me, with all the cognitive dissonance that's happening right now, when I see people wearing diapers on their face, is people aren't asking why.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. So that thing you're showing, that's the space shuttle, right?
So this is
that's one of the boosters.
Excuse me. This is the external tank of the space shuttle. And if you remember, when the thing takes off, it turns upside down and flies upside down and backwards, which I always thought was very cool. But that's because this thing, they tell us, is made of steel, and it's 40,000 pounds empty. This is being, now use your mind here. This is being filmed by the space shuttle that has already orbited the Earth once, come back around, is on its way to space at 25,000 miles an hour. And somehow it's filming this thing falling back to Earth, and it's going to burn up before it gets to the clouds. Right? People short circuit. They're like, well, yeah, it is falling.
You know what that looks like to me?
A balloon.
Well, not just that. I'm looking at that, and you know what it looks like to me? It looks like when I watched King Kong in the 1939 version, and I saw, because the graphics look terrible. It reminds me of like looking at King Kong, and I'm thinking this is made out of Play-Doh. That looks like it's really bad graphics.
No, it's a balloon, and we actually have a video where we can see. There it is. Well, I have a video breaking down. You see that thing right there? That artifact.
Yeah. What is that?
That's a for lack of a better word, a cloaked aircraft, some sort of helicopter that is going to retrieve this. And whatever they're using, skin, like a television screen skin. I don't know, but we nailed it. We changed the contrast, and you could actually see the craft retrieving this thing. But just forgetting that, this thing is the space shuttle itself is on its way up. This thing is falling. No, it's not. This is floating, right? And the other question is, are we looking up or are we looking down? You can't tell, right? Here's I throw this out. I say, how come we don't see any land here from the space shuttle? And people are like, well, you're in the middle of the ocean. I'm like, well, there's no curve. Oh, you could see the curve. Look, the curve. But in reality, this isn't from the space shuttle. This is from our front yard. We just turned it upside down, put a solar panel in there, and that's how easy it is to fool people. NASA gets $63 million a day. Just give me $1 million a day, and I'll take care of all of this for you. Okay. NASA.
Well, how about satellites? Like that happens to be the modern. Like we're folk. Oh, wait a second. Is that a jumper?
Oh, that's the Red Bull jump. Look how fast he's falling. Right. That's a camera that's mounted on the balloon that he was on. This is being filmed by guys that are heading to space, and this is falling, and it's a bit heavier than that guy. Right,
David, I saw that jump, and I remember seeing a curve. And he said when he got down that the curve was beautiful.
He said the curve is beautiful. So there's 2 ways to look at it. One, he was told to do that, told to say that.
Yep.
Or two, he believes it because that's what he expected to see. He's wearing a helmet with curved glass. And, here's Felix. This is him climbing in, and there's a camera without a fisheye lens looking out, and the horizon's right here while he's on the ground. There's the horizon. And then
I have a question.
Wait,
what is a fisheye's lens?
A fisheye lens curves things. It makes things warp. All right, I'll show you in a second. This is a shot when they opened the door at 127,000 feet. The horizon's at the same level. The horizon should have dropped. If the Earth was a globe, it should have dropped here. But we still see the horizon at the exact same level, right? So lots of times from space, you'll see stuff like this. Here he is just before he jumped. And he's like, oh, I saw the curve of the Earth. Well, did you know that there was 2 test runs before this that they used regular lenses where it didn't show this? It showed the flat horizon. And for the one that they publicized, they changed it to GoPro lenses. And we analyzed this. We zoomed in. We checked it out. We can see this little river here. We can see all this. All of this is New Mexico. All of this is New Mexico. Last time I heard, New Mexico wasn't a third of the Earth. Okay. This is all New Mexico. Now, remember, the Earth is spinning to the east. He's up here for 3.5 hours before he jumped. He should have landed 3,000 miles out in the ocean, but he didn't. He landed east of where he took off from. New Mexico is spinning to the east, close to 1,000 miles an hour, maybe 800 miles an hour, and he landed ahead of it. How is that possible? That's impossible. And whenever you see a curve like this, you have to take it and put it on a ball, right? Here's New Mexico, right? This is absolute ridiculous insanity. And this, again, we talked about photos of Earth. That one was on everyone's iPhone. And if we look at images of Earth, oops, here we go. Here's 4 different images from 4 different space agencies. Which one do you like? I'm a blue marble guy just because it's, made in my country.
I like blue.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. See this photo? Do you think you could paint this, or somebody could paint it and make it look as exactly like that? Do you think anyone could paint that?
I would say yes. I have a second cousin who's a classical realist, and he paints pictures like that look real,
even with all of these reflections and everything.
Yeah.
Well,
I've seen it.
You're absolutely right.
Can I do a pitch? Can I do a pitch for him? Barry Oretsky. My mother's proud of him because it's her maiden name. His pictures look exactly like that.
Well, this might be one of his pictures, because this is a painting. This is not real. Now, let me ask you another question. Do you think somebody could paint this?
I don't. One of the questions I have.
So, wait a minute. Wait, back it up. This is a painting. Not only is this much easier painting to paint, NASA admits it's a painting. And the guy that made it, his name is Robert Simmons, or Sims, whatever. And he said he made it in Photoshop. He was given data, and he's like, oh, there's more algae here. I'll make that greener. And this is warmer oceans. I'll make that bluer. And he was really lazy because he stepped and repeated the clouds using the clone tool in Photoshop. Same clouds, again and again and again. He's lazy. This is made in Photoshop, and people think this is proof that they live on a globe. It's absolute insanity, right?
Well, how about Elon and the satellites he's launching? Like he's the big savior right now. He bought Twitter. We're free. We're out of our prison.
Yeah.
He's our savior. Tell me about Elon and
I'm going to link you a 5-minute video that exposes Elon Musk as being 100% puppet, fraud, doesn't do any of this stuff. He is just a moron that is put out there as our savior, right? If Elon is going to save us for free speech, therefore space is real, because SpaceX has, done amazing things. Now they're taking civilians up. This is Shatner, 90-something years old, coming back from space. Look at this. This is fake. Look at this thing. It's moving sideways. Then they're going to show you another view. Now it's going down. Interesting. Okay. Then they'll show you sideways. I might show you again. Watch this impact. Do you see that impact? Let me get a closer shot of that. Look at that impact, right? And then if you ever been to a sporting event, a gathering of large people, a carnival, what do they have there? They have EMS people there because somebody could get hurt. This guy was just slingshotted into space on a rocket, slammed into the desert, and no EMS, no doctors, no nothing. Just a couple of wives, Jeff Bezos, everyone high-fiving, slapping each other's, and no medical personnel, nothing. This is complete and total garbage for your mind to make you believe you live on a ball so you don't unplug from the matrix. It's absolute insanity. Absolute insanity.
Well, let's talk. How about satellites? Because in essence, we're all relying on satellites for our phones, our internet, or this is what we're led to believe.
Yeah, Google satellites from space, and you in space images, and you get nothing. You get all cartoons. There's not a single image of a satellite in space, right? It's just absolute and total garbage. And they want you to believe that these things, that there's millions of them up there, right? Or not millions, tens of thousands at this point, falling around the earth, mirroring all of the different images, all the different motions. We're spinning, corkscrewing through space, and somehow a geostationary satellite mimics all of those speeding up, slowing down, curved trajectories. Somehow it mimics us. Absolute insanity, right? Satellites used to be balloons, and now they're saying, oh, NASA's going to start putting satellites up on balloons again. You know why? Because they're being discovered. NASA puts up tens of thousands of these things. They're up there. They're crashing all over the world, and everyone has a high-def camera in their pocket, and we have videos of them. They come, they get swiped up quick, but it's too late. Cat's out of the bag, right? They put these things up. They can go up for years, right? They admit that they can go up for over a year. I believe they go up for years. And they launch a lot of them in Antarctica, and they can control these things by electrostatics on what wind currents they get them in. They can put them anywhere they want over the earth, right?
Well, what about the Hubble?
So that's also a bunch of nonsense. Again, I used to think, oh, look, I see a satellite. I'm down, I'm in the Caribbean, whatever, at night. I'm like, oh, that's a satellite, right? This is a 747. This is 747 at cruising altitude. Can you see the engine on that 747? You can barely see the 747, right? Here's the engine, right? The engine is about the size of a satellite. And you think you can see a satellite 50 to 200 times farther than this? It's absolute insanity. People don't use their minds. They don't use their minds when it comes to this stuff. So, if there was satellites up, GPSing, we'd have satellite coverage everywhere. But guess what? Where there's no satellite coverage, where there's no land or populated land. There's no satellite coverage in the southern oceans. There's no satellite coverage between California and Hawaii. There's no satellite coverage over the Amazon, right? There's no satellite coverage because it's all ground-based. Now, with that said, they are using some AWACS type planes. They may be using some balloons for some of this stuff. They may be bouncing some stuff off the firmament at this point. Technology is getting better, but there is no satellite grid network. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So our communications are done with undersea cables, and undersea cables prove the Earth is flat also, because there should be a cable from Santiago to Australia, which are really close together on the bottom of a ball, but they're not. The cable from here to Santiago, from Santiago to Australia, goes all the way up in the north. It goes all the way over, comes around, and then down. Okay? Absolute insanity, just like the flight routes.
So what's up there?
Nothing.
What do you mean? Like I look at the stars. Before I ask that question, David, I moved out to California, and I am at the Pacific. And now that I'm getting older, I love going to the beach to watch the sunset. And I see the sun set, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I literally see it vanish from my sight.
Here's the sun, 93 million miles away. I have a problem with this. Okay. Here's the thing. Nobody has proven that the sun, moon, or stars, any of them, are even physical, right? It's provable that all of the planets are very close and that they are their own lights, because Think about this. You ever look up and see Mars or Jupiter in the sky? It's very bright. Saturn, pretty bright on a clear night. Amazing, amazing, right? If you were on Jupiter, which I would say is a non-reflective surface, you know, if you believe NASA, right? Jupiter, not this Jupiter. Well, it is actually that Jupiter. But if you believe that Jupiter is what they say, you know, Jupiter, this is what NASA shows us. And when anyone looks, this is what we actually see. But you see this bright light in the sky. If you were on Jupiter and you looked at our sun would be tiny because it's much farther away from the sun, right? So you have to believe that that tiny star-like sun is lighting up Jupiter. That light is bouncing off of the cloudy atmosphere and reflecting back to Earth brighter than any star. If you know anything about the inverse square law of light, how light diminishes exponentially as it goes farther distances, you would realize that you can't see it. The moon, the full moon, you can read by it. It casts your shadow on the ground. But for the moon to be the brightness that we see it, at 100 miles from the moon should be 64 times brighter than we see the sun. For us to see it at the brightness that we see it, according to real science. But people just disregard that. Think about this. If our sun was a mile overhead, you looked up, this is what you would see. The sun would fill the whole sky.
Yeah.
Move it 93 million miles away, it becomes the size of a coin held at arm's length. Okay, what if I doubled the distance? How much smaller does it get? Now, I say it would get so small you couldn't see it, but some people say it only gets half as small as that coin. So now it's a size of like half the size of a dime. Double that distance again. How much smaller does it get? Right? Well, if you do that 24 times, it is scientifically provable that it is magnitudes too far, too small to see. Okay? Magnitudes. So 24 times, well, if the sun is 8 light minutes away, times 24 is 3 light hours. At 3 light hours, the sun is scientifically, provably too small to see, ignoring the brightness problem. We won't even use that because you don't even need it. So what's equivalent to that? Well, Polaris that we can all see here in the north is 48 times bigger. It's really 46, but let's say 48 because the math is easier. 48 times 3 light hours is 6 light days. Polaris at 6 light days. A light day is the amount of distance light travels in a day. Like a light year, it's the amount of distance it travels a year. So at 6 light days, let's round up to a week. At a light week away, Polaris is magnitudes too small for us to see. And the inverse square law of light problem is just a whole nother rabbit hole. Don't even need to go down there. How far do they tell us Polaris is? They tell us Polaris is 433 light years away. And you think we can see that star? Absolute insanity. Weak brains, unable to think.
I have a question. So I'm looking at the planets behind you. I'm looking at Neptune and I look at the picture. So the above pictures are the ones that I've seen through NASA. And you're saying that those are not photographs, but they're pictures. I know that in those pictures below, how were they taken?
Oh, through our optics telescopes. You can buy consumer cameras now. The Nikon P900 is amazing. You zoom in and this is Venus, right? What the hell is this? Now, this one's a little out of focus, but things out of focus sometimes will show you some things that you might not be able to see. So where am I? I'm in planets. Here, I wanted to show you Saturn, right? This is the famous picture of Saturn. We've all seen this. Well, we took it off of NASA's website, put it in Photoshop, cranked it up, and you can clearly see this was made crappily in a shitty photo program, right? You can see the layers, right? We caught them again and again, right? NASA showed us a whole bunch. If NASA showed us these planets, what would you say? You think these are fake or real?
Those are nice.
Yeah, those are frying pan bottoms. Okay, these are the bottoms of frying pans that I took. Okay, this is how. And give me $1 million a day. I did that for nothing. All right, it's absolute insanity what people will believe. You just did something with your sound again.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. You're like in the distance. Can you tell what planet this is?
It's Jupiter.
Yeah, but if you zoom in on it, it's actually a meadow with ducks. Okay. you're seeing what you want to see. Look, ducks, grass, more water, a sailboat. Okay. Before you were talking about, well, let's stick on stars for a second. If we look at stars, right? This is what stars actually look like. Each one of these stars is a different star. This is what stars really look like.
You use the Nikon
P1000 camera. It has 125 times zoom, right? But this is my favorite one, and you can see this with your naked eye. Is the star Arcturus? Oh no, this one is good. This is Arcturus, right? But the one I wanted to show you was actually Capella. This one's amazing, right? Is that a star trillions of miles away? Trillions of miles, right? This is Capella. You can see this with your naked eye, right? Zoom in with a pair of binoculars, and this is what you see. What is this? All right. I think the stars are sentient. I think everything here is alive from the sky down to the ground, and we're part of this living system. But just quickly, and you've seen my videos probably, things are trillions and quadrillions of miles away. How long is 1 trillion seconds? Do you know? Have you heard me say this?
I'm guilty.
You're guilty.
I know.
So a trillion seconds, anybody listening, a trillion seconds is 31,000 years. Okay. The closest star, which is way closer than any other star, is 4.5 light years away, 25 trillion miles away. Alpha Centauri, 25 trillion miles away. If you're flying at a mile per second, no human has ever gone that fast. For 1 trillion seconds, that's 31,000 years, you are 1/25th of the way to the closest star that you think you can see. Okay. You got to do that 24 more times to get to the closest star. And the next star is magnitudes farther. Give me a break. This is all pseudoscience malarkey. All of the stars that we see that are fixed in their positions, never moving, right? They're spinning above us around a center point, prove that we're in some sort of clock system.
But Dave, I've seen boats disappear in front of me.
So if the Earth was a ball, and let's have this a boat, and we sailed away, it sure would disappear over a horizon, right? Yeah. But is there another reason? And that is a physical horizon. This is a physical horizon. Here's my finger. It goes over the horizon. It's gone. We zoom in. You still can't see it. It's hidden behind a physical horizon. So 24,901 miles around. The Earth has a curvature formula, and that formula is 8 inches per mile squared. Basically, you have to square the miles because the drop off is faster and faster. If you look, I'll show you the drop. So as you're going out on a tangent from your feet, it drops off faster and faster and faster. So at 3 miles, there's a 6-foot drop. So a 6-foot tall person standing next to the edge of calm, flat water shouldn't be able to see the surface of the water beyond 6 miles because it drops behind their physical horizon. So a boat would disappear from the bottom up. But we have cameras where we zoom in and we can see things.
Is that the Nikon?
The Nikon P900 again. So this 9.4 miles away, 1 foot off the ground, the horizon should be like under 2 miles away. There should be 59 feet of curvature according to globe math. But not only can we see the rig, we can see the surface of the water for dozens of miles beyond it. Dozens of miles beyond it. That's absolute insanity. So why do we see things disappear from the bottom up? In the distance, you got your cloud deck. They're 10,000 feet above you. And as they go into the distance, they just get closer. They merge with the horizon. Like if I'm looking across the water 30 miles, let's say, the clouds are touching the water. But I know that they're not. They're still 5 or 10,000 feet on that cloud deck, right? So here's the ground. Here's the horizon. And I can't see in between that crack because the angular size is too small. But if I zoom in, I can make it bigger. Then I can see farther until again it comes together. So
do you have an example of that for me?
Here it is. So right here, you got nothing here. So we got our horizon, And as we zoom in, we're increasing the angular size. And all of a sudden, you can see there's a boat there. Okay. So watch. Now I'm going to zoom out. Now look, these little waves in the foreground are bigger than the smaller perspective boat. And these little waves here will block the boat from the bottom up. It's gone. The glober would say it's over the horizon, but it's really just there. It's just too small for your eye to see.
Well, David, I lived where the Great Lakes were.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, from one part of Michigan, they were able to see the skyline of Chicago, and they were talking about this thing called refraction. Sorry.
Yeah. It's not refraction. What we did is, the tops of the tallest buildings should be barely above the horizon. I forget the exact measurements, but we can see the whole thing. And they say it's a mirage, but we did a time lapse, a 24-hour time lapse, day and night, different weather conditions, and the buildings never moved. We also got on a boat. We saw the horizon. We saw the skyline, and we put a camera on it, again, P900, and we went 50 miles, whatever it was, across the lake, and the mirage never changed because it's not a mirage. It's just the buildings. If it was a mirage, as we approached it, it should have morphed, changed, gone away. So I wanted to show you, you asked about sunsets, right? So
Yes.
if you're the reason that you believe the sunset, when you're watching the sunset, is that you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. And that's why the sun appears to go down, which is absolute insanity. Here we are. Are we falling over backwards, or is that sun, whatever it is just moving away and taking its light with it? It's just moving away and taking its light with it. Light doesn't travel for billions of years. The atmosphere becomes opaque over distance. Okay. It's just going away, and it's going to merge behind that perspective point. Here's a shot in Afghanistan. And Paul McCartney says, the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head sees the world spinning round. It's just going away. Super clear day, and no atmosphere, what I call the atmospheric deck of opacity. So here's something I want to show you. This can only be filmed here. It can't be filmed. It's not easy to film in California because it can't be over the water, and it has to be freezing, no humidity, super clear day. I had the sun was up here. I got my drone, and the sun was going down, down, down. In 5 minutes time, it went down, and now if the earth was spinning, it should just keep going, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and it sat here for 10 minutes. This is sped up like 2,500%. It just sat here. Now, my friends at the beach are at nighttime, and they saw the sun set from the bottom up, but I'm watching the sun. What the hell is it doing? It just disappeared into the thickness of the atmosphere. Okay.
How far is the sun then?
That's a great question.
Is it
I think
is it 93? Is it what, like, what is it? What are you proposing it is, David?
I think the sun, we see what I call in our personal atmospheric dome of vision, and we can see shorter distances parallel with the ground, longer distances up, and we see the sun kind of following that dome of vision, and it's like a magnifying, like the dome of the world is magnifying the sun, the image of the sun that we see into our dome of vision. Again, there's lots of proof that the sun that we see isn't physical, and we all see it in a unique position. If you and I were at the beach watching the sunset 50 yards apart, you would see the sun walking on the water to your feet, and I would look over, I would not see it, and you would not see it walking on the water to my feet, connecting us. We'd see it in two different positions in the sky, and that's because of the way we see. I can show you. I'll show you real quick. Again, we got to wrap this up in a little.
Is it a real physical body? What is it?
I don't think it is. And again, we can't go up there and touch it. So,
Right.
And therefore you can't measure it. But here is an experiment I did. So I got this sheet, and I say this is the limit of my vision through the atmosphere. In the distance, I have a flashlight, like 5 feet on the other side of that. And it looks kind of just like a sun. Amazing. This is my dome of vision. Now, my girlfriend's over here, and I said, where do you see the sun? And she's like, she sees the sun over there. I'll bring the camera over to her point of view. She sees the sun there. Then I may bring it over to my point of view. I see the sun right there. She still sees it over here. We're seeing the same thing in two different positions. That's why you can't triangulate the sun, because two different people see it in two different positions.
Right.
Right. One more thing on sunsets, and then go ahead.
Please.
So
no, I'm just like I'm paying attention because So how far is it then, David?
Nobody knows. I think that when I use my common sense and I watch the sunrise, I see it around where Montauk is. It's about 65 miles from me. So I have to assume it's setting maybe 65 miles the other side. Its path for the day is less than 200 miles. Okay. That's depending on the atmosphere of the day. You know, if the air is thicker, it's closer. If it's thinner, it's farther. That's a hard concept to wrap your mind around, but it actually works. And we have some videos that show you that. Let me show you one more thing, and then let me show you how you can research all of this stuff yourself and don't have to believe me. Here's an experiment I did in my kitchen. Is this line level? Appears to be, right? Okay. Is it? I'm asking you a question. Yeah. And this is my kitchen counter. You can barely see it. This could be a land obstacle, mountains, city skyline, or just atmospheric deck of clouds, but I never go below it. Now, on the other side of the table where I started, I have a camera looking up this way, and we're going to look at it from a ground point of view versus a celestial point of view. And if I showed you this first, I'd say, is this line level? And you'd be like, no, it's sloping down. And I'd say, is this light going below this, which is at my eye? It appears to be at eye level because everything merges into the horizon, even though it's way above the camera, right? Look at the line now. It looks like it's almost going straight down, but it's the level line. This is how we perceive the world. Now let's compare this to a real sunset. Here's the sun going away. This isn't the horizon. What's this? This could be either mountains in the distance that you just can't see because the light isn't strong enough, or it could just be the atmospheric deck of opacity and it goes away. If I zoomed out, all of this space between here and there merge into one horizon. The sun just goes beyond it, takes its light with it. Amazing, right?
So David, let's go back to what we were talking about, the 3 Bitcoin challenge. Because I'm definitely not, my brain, I'm not going to win it. You spent a lot of time. So let's go over the 3 Bitcoin challenge and how somebody can actually participate in it and get your $100,000 worth of Bitcoins, which it might be $3 million in the next few years, right? Or maybe
you never know. But $3 million might only buy you a loaf of bread.
So what's this? Because you want to know something, David? I didn't think I was going to win the Bitcoin challenge because you know your stuff. However, I'll share with you why I really wanted to have you on this podcast. I'm a business guy, and I love your app. The concept about it, the fact that it's inexpensive, it brings people together, it makes you a good living. And right now, everyone's looking for a killer app, and you are everywhere. And in essence, you're actually making people think, and at the same time, you're providing a good living for yourself. And I would recommend to anybody who wants to create an app to get this app and study it, because David, we'll talk more about your app from the business applications of it, but let's go over it and let's talk about the Bitcoin challenge and how the app plays a part of it, and how to navigate and what are the neat things about it.
Right. So just real quick, one last thing, and then I'll just show you the app real quick. The sky is a perfect clock. The sun goes around once a day, keeps track of the hours and the days. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. The moon keeps track of the weeks and the months. There used to be 13 months of 28 days. Okay. And the stars, if I turn on the stars, lap the sun once every 365 days. So the sun will fall back through each zodiac for about a month until it resets to where it is right now. The sun will lap the moon every 28 days. The stars will lap the sun every year. And the stars keep track of the seasons and the years. So one other thing we didn't get into, this inner yellow line is the Tropic of Cancer. The outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn, right? So the sun in June, let me jump forward to June, is over the Tropic of Cancer, that's the height of our summer. And it's hot because the sun goes over South Florida. It's close to California. Australia is having their winter because the sun is far away. When something's far away, it's lower in the sky. When it's closer, it's higher in the sky. So we're having our inner northern summer, and they're having their outer southern winter. 6 months later, the sun migrates out to the Tropic of Capricorn, and it's very far from us here in Connecticut, and everything freezes. The inner north has its winter. The outer south has its summer. Very simple. Seasons, when you really look into it, make zero sense on the globe. They actually prove the earth is flat. And one of the big things on the app, the challenge is this. Every day, there's a new video that shows here. Just tap the thumbnail, watch the video. Short ones during the week, long ones on the weekend. Watch it while you're having breakfast. Watch it when you have a couple minutes. And after 2 weeks, if you think you have one proof of the globe, you can send it to me, info@theflatearthpodcast.com. And if it's a proof of the globe, you win 3 Bitcoins. Give me your Bitcoin address and you're good to go. However, before you do it, you have to hit the frequently asked questions button. And here are all the questions you're going to ask. Hey, what about eclipses? What about ships over the horizon? As I showed you, if I click ships over the horizon, what happened? Oops, here we go. Up comes a playlist that YouTube is hiding from you. You Google flat earth, you find all the garbage they want you to have. Propaganda, these anti-flat earth shills out there misleading you. Just, when we actually talk to even somebody from the science side, the only thing they have is insults. The only thing they have, these anti-flat earthers, they only have is insults. They don't have any proofs. So here are a bunch of videos that you won't find by searching for them, but they're all here bypassing the algorithm, right?
And they're all on YouTube. Is that
well,
correct?
These are all on YouTube, but we have them backed up on other platforms, because when YouTube finally does kick us, we can easily switch to other platforms. Right now, everybody has a YouTube app. You click it, it opens up your YouTube app. It works really well. So I'll give YouTube credit there. But why the lie? What about the tides? What about seasons? All of this stuff is explained to you. And again, don't believe these videos. Look at them and think about it yourself. Go out and do experiments. There's also all sorts of other resources. If you haven't looked into mud floods, amazing. This button right here, full-length videos. I just say watch those videos. Watch the first 3 in the list. The first one is called The Next Level. It just came out. I happen to be in it. That's not why I'm telling you to watch it. But these 3, actually these 4, you watch these and you too will lose the respect of your family and friends, because you'll be a flat earther, and eventually everyone else will come around. One of the great things on the app is once you understand that the earth is not a spinning ball, life gets better once you get over the shock of it. But the thing is, you want to find other like-minded people. You don't want to work. You want to work with other like-minded people. You want to date other like-minded people. You want to hang out with other like-minded people. You hit the friend finder button and up comes a map, right? So here's a map. I have it set for 50 kilometers and it's going to load for a second. And this is going to show me all of the other app users in my area that have registered on the friend finder, and I could click their profile. I could send them a message. Like if I click on somebody.
How many people? So David, how many people have got in your app?
The number, what does that say? 57. It's almost 58,000 right here, right? So if I click on that 58,000, this takes me to a faster loading version. Like here in the UK. These are people that have my app. And by the way, only a small percentage of the people have my app, right? Here's the United States. It's looking like this thing isn't a fad, right? These are people that have it. Now, the app is only $3, okay? The only thing that you don't get with the $3 is you can receive messages. Like I can hit group everyone in that 50 kilometers, which is 371 people. I can send a group message. Hey, we're having a meeting at Joe's Bar and Grill or wherever Saturday at 4 o'clock. Come on, come all. And you can just go. You don't have to be, you don't even have to respond. But if you want to respond, if you want to send out messages like that, if you want to look at someone's profile and see like, hey, this person right here, if I click their profile, I see that they may be interested in work or whatever. Oh, this woman's single, right? People are using it as a dating app also. But people are hiring people. People are finding new best friends. People are finding new best relationships. People have gotten married because of this. All right. But you, what was the point I was making? It was people are using it to network with other people, and it's really become an amazing app, and we keep adding more and more features to it. But anyway, that's what I was getting at. If you want to be able to send messages, or on the front, everybody, the people that use this app say this is the only app I use, but there is another app that everyone uses, or most people use. It's a weather app, because you want to see what you have to, what clothes to wear today or whatever. You want to see what the weather is. Well, if you tap on, this is just your simple weather, but if you tap on the weather, up comes dark sky, which is literally the best weather app there is. And there's no ads, and it's fantastic. And that comes included with your subscription. And the other thing is, if you want to look at profiles or fill out a profile, you have to be a subscriber. How much does a subscriber cost? One margarita a year. Okay. That's $11 a year.
And you get to meet the most interesting people.
$11 a year. Okay. Find me another subscription that gives you all of this for that. But here's the thing. You don't need to subscribe. Don't, just use the app. Check out all of the features on there first. And here's the thing. Once you start watching these videos, once you start going to the more resources page, right here is my interviews, right? If you click that, here are tons of interviews I've done like this. The list is endless. This is just one of the lists.
Well, Dave,
Yeah.
regarding the interviews, like, anybody can try to dethrone you and do an interview with you, right? You're open to everybody.
I'm open to everybody except what I call anti-flat earthers. These are paid trolls that only insult and don't listen and will not concede a point, even when they've completely been disproven. So there's only a few of those out there. I'll go up. I'll talk to professors, any teachers. I'll talk to anybody. The best people to talk to are people that think flat earth is stupid, but have never looked into it. Okay. They're the ones that don't know their own model. They don't know any of those speeds that you happen to know. By the way, in all the interviews I've done, you're the first person that's known those speeds. No one else knows.
I told you, I'm telling you, I'm a nerd. So Dave,
Right.
I want to go back to something about your story in flat earth, because I think that's really important. And one of the things that I wanted to speak with you, because years ago, my daughter had a party at a princess place. And I was so amazed that, in this world of abundance, these people are making a good living on having parents spend like $100 to have their daughters become princesses with all their friends. And here you are, you're no longer doing something traditional, you're doing something which is educational, and you're paying the bills. So if you could just share with me your story and about how this became your full-time passion of sharing your message, and the fact that you're making also a good living doing what you love. And I think that's what everybody wants. They want to do something, they want to be useful, and they want to act from purpose. So share your story.
Yeah. So, I went to college and then went to corporate America. I worked in the printing industry for 20 some odd years. And then I switched. I got tired of that. So I took like a year off and I got into the solar power business. I like solar power. I was seeing it everywhere. And I joined this company called Mercury Solar Systems here in the Northeast. Excuse me. And they were mostly residential, and they weren't doing any commercial business. And I was like, these residential deals, this is weird. I can do these large commercial buildings, but there's no way to finance it. So myself and another guy there, we figured out a way to finance these deals, and we started doing huge solar projects. So flash forward a few years later, we're doing incredibly well there. The company sold, and the company that bought it shuts down the commercial division. And I was like, all right, that's okay. And we started our own company called 64 Solar. and it was one of the top commercial solar power development companies. We'd identify, finance, and construct solar projects, making more money than I ever thought I would make. Life is good, but I'm working a lot, and then I was, on the side, I was doing a podcast, and I found out about this flat Earth thing, and it really started to hit me, all the deceptions going on in the world, and I realized that, if people don't wake up soon, we're going into hundreds of years of tyranny, where we're going to be in this totalitarian, total control grid, and we are on our way there. So I decided to leave my own company and do this. This was in 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
So this is before certain people and certain entities came out of the closet. It's like, so you were aware of the message before this craziness over the last 30
Oh
years.
yeah, absolutely. So I realized that if people don't wake up, get their heads out of their asses, I wanted a future for my kids. I wanted a future for me. I saw this world slipping away. I saw myself working until I was too old to enjoy retirement. And I literally asked for a sign. I got a couple of signs. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And literally I went home to pay my bills, and the money that came in from the app for that month was just enough to cover my bills. I was like, you know what? If I focus on doing this, now I'm not here to sell apps. I'm here to wake you up. And the best tool to wake you up is this app. There's really no other handy tool. What does everyone have in their hands? They have a cell phone in their hand. They have a smartphone, right? Who's the target market? Every single person on earth that has a cell phone, has a smartphone. Okay. It's the biggest target market ever. But I'm not here for this, because when I am successful, when this goes viral, all currencies are going to collapse, and all the money that I make, it's going to be worthless. Okay. It's not about the money, and people that don't have money, people that are jealous of money, they can't fathom that. I don't do this for money, and I've proven that by walking away from a large 6-figure, 7-figure income to do what? To talk to people that think I'm crazy. But I'm here unplugging people from the matrix. The heliocentric lie that has imprisoned your mind. I'm showing people that the other 90% of their brain is the important part of their brain that they're never taught to use in school. I'm showing people that they are divine and powerful, and that nobody has control over them. The only control anyone has over you is in your imagination. I'm showing you that this world can be whatever we want it to be. I'm showing you that all of our history, all of it, the Wild West, a lie. All of it's a lie. Everything. Okay. If you haven't looked into Tartaria, everything is a lie. There was an advanced civilization here.
Why would they lie? Yeah, but
it's about control. It's about control. There's resets that happen. There's cyclical resets that happen. And in somewhere in the mid to late 1800s, there was a reset, and a lot of people were wiped out. And this world was kind of taken over by people that know what's going on, and they decided to hide it from the masses. We are their serfs. They talk about, the rich are getting richer and the middle class is getting poorer. Well, that's what they want. They want to totally control everything. They want us being their slaves. They want, their face muzzle wearing slaves serving them while they're having their cocktails and dinners without their masks on. It's insane what's going on. It's insane how people have fallen for all of this. Go ahead.
Someone told me something, and I don't know if it's true or what, because I'm doing my investigation. It's almost like they're telling us what they're going to do to us.
They always tell us what we're going to do. They can't break our free will. Absolutely. They can't break our free will. So they tell us. They told us about the event in New York many, many times before it happened. They told us about all these other events. They tell us about everything. They tell us, go look at the CDC's website. They're telling us what these injections are doing, right? They're telling us everything. Okay. But people are just too stupid. People just don't get it. People are lost in the matrix.
I don't think they're stupid. I think, and this is the one thing why I'm having this podcast and why I think you're very useful to have on. It's about restarting that child's brain when you question. You don't accept, you touch things, you feel it, you see if it's real. I don't know, you were showing early on like planets, but they were really bottoms of
Frying pans.
Pots.
Yeah.
Pots. Well, you want to know something? If I just accept it for the way it is, like you said, like where do you live? I don't know. I have to go to your home.
This
So,
is
for example,
this is Mars.
Mars, but you had pictures of pots.
Yeah.
And because I'm told that's a planet, I accept it as a planet, but then you show that it's the bottom of a pot. What is important for me in my journey and for the people that I like being with people who question, because a question is infinitely more important than the answer because it restarts the brain and the higher functions. I think what's happened, and I've seen this with my own family, is people are willing to give away all their rights out of fear of death. And I asked my mother a question, who's 82 years old, who has chosen to be experimented on.
Yeah.
Because we're going,
yeah, don't careful on YouTube. Careful on YouTube.
And so my mother is chosen, and I asked her a question, and I was stuck in Toronto, and she was like 15 feet away from me in my sister's backyard, and she's scared of her own son who she gave birth to. And I asked her this, I said, so you're so scared of dying, and she's 82 years old, and you're not living. So
absolutely.
David, one of the things that I think, which I sense from you, is this passion. So since you discovered that the world wasn't the way that you thought it was, how has that changed your world, and what has that opened up to you?
It has changed everything. It has taught me how to manifest with my mind. It has introduced me to so many new friends. I'm no longer limited in what I can. The things that I think of manifest in my life. They come to me faster. You are your worst enemy. Here's the biggest conspiracy: the universe, the Earth system, is conspiring to deliver every single thought you think to you, whether it's good or bad. If you have shitty thoughts, you will have a shitty life. Okay. If you have good thoughts and you
dwells upon, the mind will expand upon.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a new photo from NASA, but if we zoom out, we can see that it's really just a rusty old gas tank. Okay. People will believe anything. Okay. Amazing, right? It's so easy. Yeah. Give me $1 million a day. NASA gets 64 million a day, or 63, whatever.
Well, you keep on the trajectory you're on right now. Your app will generate you $1 million a day.
Yeah, it could. It could, but at that point, when you'll know when that happens, because you won't be able to drive down a major highway anywhere in the United States without a flat Earth billboard on it.
Yeah. So Dave, you know what I think would be great?
Yeah.
Let's imagine, okay, right now, I'm old school. One day I like to sit and take you up and have a drink with you and actually shake your hand, because I'm the type of guy who needs to call people. I don't like email and stuff like that. So I'm a public speaker, and we met through an individual who represented me in the old world. My expertise was dealing with succession planning and dealing with old guys who were looking for greater meaning in life and getting their businesses to sell. But you know what I would think? I've been to so many conferences, and I've seen mentalists, and I've seen magicians, and I've seen like these people come. You would be the greatest after dinner speaker, because I'm just thinking out loud, because it would just be a compliment to what you're doing and making a conference fun. They bring you on, someone can get 3 Bitcoins, and they can ask you whatever question they want, and you can present. Do you do that? Are you represented by anyone to give speeches like that, after dinner speeches?
I'm working on it. So most of the stuff I do is like this via Zoom, but I could do things in person, because my favorite thing is question and answer. People say, "Hey, let's hear your presentation." I go, "I don't have a presentation. I basically give you the 3-minute intro to what flat Earth is. And then I love taking questions. One thing that we didn't show, but this is something I want to leave you with, unless you want to keep going on there.
No, just show me, because I'll come back to that just before we end up.
Yeah. So what we didn't get to before, because we moved on, is I always believe in aliens, extraterrestrials. There's got to be extraterrestrials, right? There's, they tell us there'll be a waste of space. It's a giant universe, right? It's very egocentric to think that we're the only ones. But we're talking about the distances to stars. That's crazy. How do aliens come from those distances through a vacuum of space, which is scientifically impossible? But what if the Earth was set up like this? We live right here. This is Antarctica. And out here is more oceans and more land. Extra territory. Extra terra. If somebody lived out here and flew in here to abduct me and probe me, whatever they do, they can make it back for dinner. But where did they come from? They came from the outer space. Where?
And what are they called?
Extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials. They're telling us this is scientifically possible. Space is scientifically impossible.
Why is it impossible?
Because you can't have you can't, nowhere in science, in a lab or in nature, can you have high pressure next to low pressure without a physical barrier. Air pressure. We have air pressure. You need a container for air pressure. Okay. Space would suck the air away. People go, well, what about gravity? I can take a straw and put a very weak low pressure in my mouth, and water and air will come up and away from gravity. But the Tor 17 vacuum of space can't pull the air away from Earth. That's absolute insanity. That would be, if I had a shoebox, if that was true, gravity's holding down, I had a shoebox, an open shoebox, and I sucked all the air out of the room below it, all the air out of the room, the air in the shoebox would remain in the shoebox because of gravity. I'm sorry. That's absolute insanity.
So what's up there? What like, is it a dome? Is it made out of glass? What is it? What is it?
Nobody, if you can't touch it, or measure it, you can't, we again, anything above where we can reach is speculation. When you watch any NASA, SpaceX rocket, it's edit, because they're fake. Sometimes they're just holograms. Sometimes they're helium balloons. Sometimes they're miniatures.
A quick example of that, a fake rocket,
yeah.
How about Elon's one? Elon's going up, coming down.
Yeah. So here, and I'm going to show you this one. And you won't even believe this is real. This is unedited. This is Elon's rocket, right? This rocket's going to take us to Mars, right? So watch this thing. It takes off. Now edit. Now look at this interesting view. Now edit. Okay. Look how slow this thing is going. This little flame is pushing this multi-ton rocket up. Now look, we're looking at it at a side angle, this far camera. Now we're close. Look how close this thing is. This thing is supposed, now all of a sudden, look, this is unedited. This is what they showed us. Okay. Look at the smoke coming off. Now look how high it is. Watch the smoke. The smoke will tell you how fast this thing is moving. Now it's free falling, 40,000 pounds empty. Okay. It's free falling. Watch this next shot. Ready? Look at the smoke. This thing isn't free falling. Now watch. This is supposedly free falling. Now look how high it is. Absolute insanity. Watch again. Now the engines are going to turn on. The camera's going to get underneath after another edit. Oh, look how high we are again. This is unedited. Okay. It's falling. Now here the three engines turn on and somehow it miraculously goes upright. Oh, look at that. Edit, cut underneath. Now watch. Two of the three engines are going to turn off. Right? Now look at the smoke. How fast is this thing going? This engine is going to land it right on the pad. Look at all this fake smoke. And this thing lands upright. Look at it at an angle too. It would flip right over. Okay. This is what they show us is real. And that's not even the worst. Okay. Let me show you one more since we're at it. I call this the Tupac rocket. Okay. This is a hologram. It's not real. It's not here. This is a projection. What do you want to call it? Project Bluebeam or whatever, right? So this thing's going up, but there was a glitch. Watch the top half of the rocket. All of a sudden, the top half of the rocket disappears. We were looking around on some photos. See that? This whole weird layer came on. Show you again. On NASA's lawn, and we saw these weird lights, and we zoomed in on them. We're like, what the hell are these projectors? So these lights. And we saw a serial number and a name, and we looked it up. It's a holographic projection company. Look at this. Not real. Not
I have a question to ask
real.
you.
Good.
I've got a big question, because we didn't cover this.
Yeah.
So I'm Canadian,
Yeah.
and there's an astronaut in Canada named Hatfield.
Yeah. Chris
And
Hatfield.
Chris Hatfield, and as a Canadian, he played like Bowie, whatever that song is. And now he's a public speaker talking about his experience because he set a record, supposedly in the space station, and he charges $100,000 a speaking gig in person.
Chris Hatfield,
the space station,
along with the rest of them, are liars. They've never gone to space.
Show me. I want you to show me, because that's the one thing.
Here's Chris Hatfield singing, right? He's upside down. These guys are in two different studios in front of a green screen. This guy with the microphone misplaces where Chris is and sticks the microphone inside of his neck. The microphone is in his neck right now. Okay. These guys, never in the history of space, any of the spacewalks on the moon, has they done a 180 pan, let alone a 360, right? Statistics would tell us that
more.
There's so many.
That's just one, right? Like,
there's so many. This is Don Pettit, the only guy who actually might think he went to space because he might be retarded. He's showing us how he drank coffee out of a plastic cup that he made, but while he's floating it around, the color separated. It's separated. This is CGI. Okay. Color separated, right? This is another one where, watch this astronaut's head. It's transparent. Look, they're fading him into the scene. This is done on a 0G plane, I think. And, they use all sorts of different techniques, right? Here's another one.
I see them like floating around all the time.
Yeah, they're hanging from wires. Look at these suits, these pants that they're wearing. They're hanging from wires. They're in front of green screens. Now watch his arm. There's a little glitch there, but watch right here. Oh, what was that? There's the green screen. Green screen. There's no
spacewalks, space and bubbles. Someone was telling me about bubbles.
Yeah, there's so many. On the app, there's a button called Bubble. There, if it's not there now, there will be Bubbles in Space. There's so many videos. I featured one this week, or actually, I think tomorrow's video is Bubbles in Space at the time of this recording. All of this stuff is being added to the app as we go. Again, you won't find this stuff online, right? But one more thing, and then I got to wrap it up because I got another interview actually.
Yeah, no problem.
There is I showed you the rockets where everything is they always edit. This rocket is the Go Fast rocket done by in the Arizona desert, not NASA. A private group did it uninterrupted. It's got a camera pointing down and a camera pointing sideways, uninterrupted. It went up 73 miles, I think, and all of a sudden it hit something. It went into something like it sounded like water, but if it hit water, it probably would have broken apart. Maybe it was like some sort of plasma, and it floated weird for a couple of minutes, right? But here's the most interesting part. When it turned on its side, all of a sudden you can see the moon. This is the moon right there. Okay.
Where is it?
There's the moon. You see that dot?
Yeah, I know, but where was it?
So at the time of this, the moon was over Australia. They're in Arizona. So if the Earth was a basketball and Arizona was on the top of the ball, they're 0.5 millimeter above that ball and the moon is below it. Okay. That can only happen on a flat plane. This absolutely proves that we don't live on a globe. Well,
David, I want to thank you. I I'm not smart enough to win those 3 Bitcoins, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people listening.
You're smart enough to know
really
that you're not going to win those Bitcoins.
Well, I'm not a betting man, and that's why my clients use me. I only bet things that I know that I'm going to win. I want to mitigate my risk. However, I want to leave this with about the Flat Earth app and Zodiac. I think that for many people who might doubt you, I would say get the app, because we have a new economy and the world's changing. And David, I thought of your app and I said, this is incredible, because you have a product that you're educating people, that you're providing a service, more getting people to meet, communicate. Because one thing that I hate that's happened over the last 30 months, I would say, or let's say 8, whatever, how long it's been, is people are not communicating with other people. And I think the service that you're doing more than anything is you've created a community of questioners. And that's a lively group. And that's a group that, I'd like to hang out with those people at a party rather than a bunch of people who are wearing pants like the guys in the astronauts.
We're a lot of fun. Cool. We're a lot of fun. That's for sure. We have conferences all the time. Next year, it'll be in Vegas. It's in October. It's going to be in South Carolina.
Well, David, thank you so much. And I just want to do a plug for Rob Abrams, that if you want to get this man to speak in front of a group, go to Red Pill Speakers. And I guarantee you, he's more entertaining and likable than most of the mentalists and the magicians that you would get. And in essence, you have the possibility that one of your attendees is going to walk out with 3 Bitcoins, and nobody else is willing to offer that challenge. And I think that for accounting, or I'm just pitching the people who are listening, because I have some really people who would never be introduced to you. I have 6,400 partners of the largest accounting firms. I have about 4,000 vice presidents of financial firms who are part of my 21,000 connections. And I have, you name it, I have some people who would never be introduced to you. And that's why I wanted to bring the Bitcoin Challenge, and also introduce your app as a tool that people can learn from, not only about Flat Earth, but how you can actually take what you love and make a living doing it. And David, you've been wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
All right. Thanks for having me, man.
Have an awesome night.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Bye-bye.